Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. Tony Edward here from the Thinking Crypto podcast recently got Hugo Fillion on the show. He is of the Flare Networks, as you guys remember. As you guys probably know, we did recently just get news that Google Cloud is now running a Flare validator. Hugo Fillion of Flare talks about the huge partnership with Google Cloud, which will be a validator and data provider on the Flare Networks. You guys can check out the full interview here from Tony. Here's a quick clip. Listen to this.
Probably the most exciting institutional infrastructure provider, which is Google joining us as Google Cloud, joining us as a validator and a data provider. So providing data on the network and taking part in validation. This is really very exciting to us as the network for data to have Google Cloud joining us. As I'm sure everyone on this podcast knows, Google is probably the preeminent data business in the world. The validator role is not just being a validator. It is a merging between validator and data provider. In order to run a validator and get rewarded for it, you have to run a data provider. We basically got them to change to a reasonable extent their business model to not just do validation, but also to do data provision.
So not just a validator, but also a data provider. And as per Hugo Fillion here, he said that I guess it was quite the feat to get Google to actually, agree to change their model so that they can, in fact, be a validator and data provider in one. So that's sounding like it's going to be very interesting. I have not actually watched the podcast yet, but looking forward to it. Wanted to thank Tony for posting that. Now, we got the Wrath Economy in here, guys, bringing up this news from Ripple partner SBI Holdings. They are a partner and investor in Ripple, as you know, and they will use the XRPL to issue NFTs for Expo 2025. This was announced a few months ago, but it's looking like it's coming to fruition. We've got the Strategic Business Investor document here that I will link in the description of the video if you guys are interested in looking into it. What I wanted to highlight here was this, though. Endeavor to promote new technologies, including NFTs, that are expected to grow in the future by supporting the Expo 2025 Osaka Kansei and sharing them with the world. The official wallet service, okay, guys, operating by consortium consisting of SBI Group, SMBC Group, Rizona Group, the Mitsubishi MUFJ Financial Group will offer a service where users can acquire and view the Expo original NFT. And guys, this is going to be published on the XRP ledger to be issued by SBI NFT, on the decentralized public blockchain XRP ledger. So they are committed to running on the XRP ledger here. And as you guys can see, some of these other banks are part of that Japanese consortium too that have also committed to running on RippleNet. So a strong connection there with Japan and more XRPL utilities. So wanted to thank the Wrath of Kahneman just for posting that. Now, Ripple partner Worldline has also moved onto the cloud. First, we got the Flare Networks, but here's another one, another big Ripple partner brought to us by Mike Manfield. Since 2022, Worldline has initiated a move to cloud program that includes using the cloud to accelerate its digital transformation into a global premium pay tech company. And so by accelerating its trajectory, Worldline now plans to leverage Google Cloud's secure, high performance, and low latency infrastructure, enhancing its operational efficiency, optimizing cost, and improving its strategic positioning. Worldline will also tap into Google Cloud's data analytics and AI capabilities to draw benefits from its own data and consequently develop new payment products and services. So huge news here, guys. More great news coming from Google Cloud. Worldline, which is a Ripple partner. Yesterday, I did talk briefly about, I believe it was Anders. He was putting the pieces of the puzzle together, digging up some older information from 2019, where we did find that Worldline Ripple connection. And a couple of days ago, we got the Google Cloud Flare Network news. And so now, guys, we have Worldline also tapping into Google Cloud. The choice of Google Cloud also results from Worldline's long-lasting focus on corporate social responsibility and the low carbon options Google Cloud offers. As a leader in sustainability, Google strengthens its partnership with Worldline to facilitate seamless payments for its customers in Europe. So now two connections to Ripple here. One through, obviously through Google, Ripple directly, a Ripple partner Worldline, and the Flare Networks, guys. And here is a quote. Our partnership with Worldline underscores the wide range of opportunities that secure and reliable cloud technology, data analytics, and AI can bring to merchants and financial institutions. By bringing together the strengths of our two companies, we can accelerate innovation into the payment industry. So that one coming from Thomas Kurian, Google Cloud CEO. So more great Ripple partner news here. Wanted to thank Mike for posting that. The SEC and Coinbase will face off in court today. This one coming from Michael Branch here, bringing up John Deaton's opinion on the matter. And he is suggesting that the odds are in Coinbase's favor. So Coinbase is challenging the SEC's claims that it has been trading unregistered securities. If you guys remember, they did get sued last year. The outcome of today's hearing could significantly influence the regulatory landscape for cryptocurrencies in the U.S. The hearing on Coinbase's motion for judgment and on pleadings is scheduled for today, guys, Wednesday, January the 17th, if you're watching this video on the day that it's dropping. And this is happening in the Southern District of New York, the SDNY. This motion, often seen as a long shot in enforcement cases, typically favors the government. However, the 4-hour duration set for oral arguments indicates Judge Fela's thorough consideration of the matter. So Judge Fela's upcoming decision could either echo the stance of fellow Judge Annalisa Torres, who found flaws in the SEC's argument against the Ripple XRP case. And so this is why John Deaton is, I guess he's being cautiously optimistic. He conveyed his optimistic stance regarding Coinbase's prospects, articulating his thoughts on X. Deaton said this, okay, normally I would say an MTD or a motion to dismiss, at this stage would have less than a 5% chance. I'm not saying Coinbase is going to win, but I do believe that the MTD has more teeth to it than a usual one. So very, very positive, strong opinion there on Coinbase winning this particular argument here. Deaton anticipates Judge Fela will pose challenging questions to the SEC, hinting at a potential critical assessment of the SEC's conduct. Corroborating Deaton's viewpoint is James Murphy, a meta lawman from Ludlow Street Advisors. He underscored the depth of scrutiny that Judge Fela is anticipated to apply to the SEC's legal argument. Murphy referred to a notable exchange from the pre-motion conference wherein Judge Fela probed the SEC's clarity in differentiating securities from non-securities in the realm of crypto assets. So, there's still that contentious debate here. Of course, now we've got precedent that XRP is not a security. So basically any other cryptocurrency company, I guess, that did issue their cryptocurrencies in a similar way to XRP would definitely have a strong argument against the security claim issued by the SEC. So they give here 4 potential outcomes. I'm not going to go over this, but I will link it in the description for you guys if you are interested. I mean, the SEC is in hot water. John Deaton also explained this in an interview with Eleanor Turret here. Remarkable words from John Deaton when he explains why the SEC and Gary Gensler will not investigate ETHgate. Really, it's about corruption and the fact that they want to line their pockets. Listen to this.
I'm just saying is that it would require Gary Gensler to go against the Larry Finks of the world who are already pushing for it. And I'm just saying that the clock is ticking. And unless there is some kind of overwhelming pressure on Gensler and the SEC to pursue a fraud case, it's most likely not going to happen. And I'm just trying to always be realistic with people. If I'm proven wrong, I'm proven wrong, but it's going to take, I think something overwhelming, and you could have overwhelming proof, but that doesn't mean that these people will do it, because we know the truth doesn't guide them and justice doesn't guide them. These are insiders. They're political hacks. They allow regulatory capture to go on constantly. The SEC, it doesn't have a revolving door, right? No more, because a revolving door assumes that it closes sometime. It is just these regulators are going from, Clayton, basically Kushner gets his loan from Apollo Group, and then the SEC drops the case against Apollo Group, and then not Gary Gensler, Jay Clayton becomes director of Apollo Group, right? And I could go on with all the other examples that happen. I don't want to get upset right now, but I just want the viewers to know that I want justice and I want the truth out, but we're faced with these people who don't give a shit about the truth. And they don't care about justice, and they don't care about free markets and a level playing field. All they care about is their pockets. I'm sick of it. Other people are sick of it.
So that, unfortunately, is what we are faced with. People who are just interested in lining their pockets and not interested in finding the truth. And that is unfortunate for so many of us in the space. I mean, guys, we will get through this. This market will move. I mean, the spec market always does. We will make money once the bulls start running, once we do see those altcoins really pop off, once Bitcoin starts to make a move. The other thing that has been contested or debated, I guess, as of late was Ripple's IPO. I mean, we're seeing Ripple Partners preparing for an IPO. This one coming from Airwallex. Global payments and financial platform business Airwallex has revealed its plans to list publicly by 2026. So, we're seeing a lot of these companies doing very, very well. This is not the first one either. There are some other ones. I don't know them off the top of my head. But Airwallex, one of those companies that has been a Ripple partner for a while. They have decided that they are going to IPO. They're going to list publicly by 2026. Their notable backers include Square Peg, Salesforce Ventures, Sequoia Capital in China, Lone Pine Capital, Hermitage Capital, 1835i Ventures, Tencent. Interesting to note that Tencent is a Ripple partner, Host Plus, and Atsalian co-founders Mike Cannon-Brooks and Scott Farquhar through their private investment funds. The potential public listing offers a trend among privately owned unicorns contemplating exits, such as Canva, also considering an IPO in 2025. So we're seeing these Ripple partners, preparing to, boost their bottom line, really kind of ramp it up. But when it comes to a Ripple IPO, DJ Peter Vass pointed this out. Experts question how Ripple can go for an IPO with this happening. Well, what exactly is happening here? Bill Morgan noticed something. He raised a pertinent question regarding Ripple's potential initial public offering in the United States. Attorney Morgan raised the question in response to predictions from Wall Street financial expert Linda P. Jones, who forecasted that Ripple's much anticipated IPO might occur by May of this year, guys, May of 2024. I think, and here's the quote, I think there's an opportunity if Ripple wants to go public next year. Mid-May would be an ideal time. She mentioned this last year in 2023, right around May 15th, Jones said in an interview with Link 2. Notably, Jones's opinion, though, was also shared by an online betting platform, I guess. The official X handle quizzed whether Ripple's potential IPO in May has what it takes to drive the XRP price to around $10. Well, it certainly would have an effect on XRP price. I definitely think so. Don't want to get into that too much, but you think of what the price of Ripple stock would be once it does IPO, probably in the hundreds. And retail would probably want to get into it, realize, well, that's a bit rich for my blood, and then revert to the biggest asset Ripple holds, which is XRP, which could in fact boost demand significantly, bringing XRP to exorbitant prices. That's one theory. But back to this for a second, okay? Reacting, attorney Bill Morgan attempted to know the identity of the expert who predicted that Ripple would go public in May of 2024. Furthermore, he asked why Ripple would go public at a time when it is still entangled in a legal tussle with the SEC. So think about this, guys. We have the Bill Morgan tweet up here, and I'm just going to click on that. Click on the court dates that are still pending, okay? The court has reviewed the parties' letter dated November the 9th, 2023. Accordingly, there are still a few things to complete here. February 2024, March 24, April 24, and then finally by April 29th, 2024, plaintiffs shall file their reply. So, at this point, how is it that we could assume Ripple would be filing an IPO by 2024 if all this is still going on, especially by the first quarter of 2024, even into the second quarter of 2024? Judge Annalisa Torres might issue the final judgment weeks after the last motion has been filed, so that would get us into quarter two. However, we do have to also remember what Ashish Birla did say back in 2020. Let's take a look at this tweet down here. In the next 12 months, okay, again, this is from January 2020. In the next 12 months, you'll see IPOs in the crypto and blockchain space. We're not going to be the first and we're not going to be the last, but I expect us to be on the leading side. It's a natural evolution for our company. Now, this was coming at a time before Ripple got sued by the SEC. Again, guys, this was before even the beer flu, January of 2020, before those beer flu lockdowns, which really collapsed the crypto market in March of 2020. So this was the optimistic viewpoint by Ripple executives back in early 2020. But guys, now it's looking like a very, very different landscape. And I'm going to tell you why. XRP Drops posted this, Davos 2020. It's not an immediate term priority to go public, says Brad Garlinghouse. In the U.S., trying to go public with a very hostile regulator that has to approve your S1. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Listen to this.
It is not an immediate term priority to go public. In the United States, trying to go public with a very hostile regulator that has to approve your S1, that doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. Coinbase obviously had their S1 approved, and now the SEC is suing them for doing things that was outlined in their S1. Now, as I mentioned, there's a hearing tomorrow in the U.S. about some of that. But I think it's indicative of why would we want to subject ourselves to an SEC that is openly hostile to this industry?
So in terms of an IPO, an exit of some sort, is that sort of parked to the side at this point?
Yeah, I mean,
or are you
I don't
looking
think
elsewhere outside the US for a listing?
I mean, yes to all of those. Okay. I don't think about an IPO as an exit. I think about an IPO as a step in the journey. Shareholder liquidity is important to me. We have investors that first invested in Ripple in 2012. So they've been in this deal for 11 and a half years. And so we want to provide that liquidity, which is one of the reasons why we've done these tender offers and now repurchased just over $1 billion of stock. We have looked at other jurisdictions that have clearer rules of the road. But honestly, a lot of people go public because they need to raise capital.
Yeah.
Ripple's not really in a place where we need to raise capital. And so it is not a short-term priority. We're obviously keeping that option open, and we'll evaluate it as time continues. And we'll evaluate it again as we have new regulators sitting at the United States SEC.
So waiting for Gary Gensler to step down before they make the decision is what it sounds like. Otherwise, maybe they will go public in another jurisdiction. Even Jungle Inc. was commenting on this a few days ago, about a week ago. Block reporting Ripple is not planning to IPO in the U.S., conducting share buybacks. So there was that story. Ripple to buy back $285 million of its shares, valuing the company at $11 billion, say sources. So that happened back on January the 10th. Ripple did, in fact, do this. The investment, also known as a tender offer, valued the company at $11.3 billion. Investors are only allowed to sell up to 6% of their stake. Sources added, and they requested anonymity. They did not want to be identified. The privately held company confirmed the tender offer and said it plans to spend $500 million in the planned buyback to cover the cost of converting restricted stock units into shares and taxes. It expects to do more share buybacks on a regular basis to provide liquidity for investors and has no plans to go public in the United States anytime soon due to regulatory uncertainty. So we've got Brad Garlinghouse also commenting on that, and Jungle Inc. also mentioning that too. U.S. regulators are the scapegoat. There are other capital markets. If it was simply U.S. regulations, then why do buybacks and not IPO in another country? So an interesting perspective here. Matt Hamilton did respond. What benefit would there be to Ripple to conduct an IPO? Well, as Brad Garlinghouse does say, there are, it's a long-term play for them. It's not obviously to raise capital. Ripple is already a very prosperous company. Jungle Inc. says would show their business is doing well and growing. Would be bullish since much of their business is ODL, cross-border services. XRP utility is part of that business. So some other interesting points here that he does bring up in this tweet thread. If nothing else, it would help to attract talented developers and keep important employees. They could go the Coinbase route too. Doesn't have to be an IPO if they don't need the capital. Sounds like the business isn't ready yet. David Schwartz does respond here. Employees care that there be some path to liquidity for their stock options, RSUs or whatever. There's no particular reason it needs to be publicly traded shares specifically. Jungle Inc. saying if there is such a liquid market, why is Ripple buying back the shares? Is this an investment decision or providing liquidity for long-term shareholders that have been stuck in the stock? And David Schwartz responding here, there isn't really a liquid market. The market for equity in privately held companies is largely illiquid. So maybe an exit strategy for the holders? I don't know, guys. They did say they will do it eventually, maybe just not now. Question whether Ripple will IPO this one. Another one from Anders on Twitter. Brad says it's not a priority. The balance sheet is strong, as we heard in that clip. Also not a priority since US SEC are hostile. Brings up Coinbase as an example. And so they do not want to be the next Coinbase. Cryptic Poet here also just highlighting some of these key points that we just heard. Hostile regulators. However, the firm does have plans for an IPO, but it sounds as though they're putting it on hold. So are we going to see an IPO by May? Or are we going to see an IPO once the market really revs up? Ready to roll. Remember, guys, Coinbase did not launch their IPO until the market was at an all-time high back in April of 2021. So I think it's very, very possible that we could see something similar for Ripple, and that could take XRP price even higher than originally predicted. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.